prescription for a new prescription, you will ask this: what is your name? Have them initial. Did you see what physician did you see? Write the name. Have the patient initial. So each and everything that you ask the patient, did the patient, at this time, did the patient see how the medication was assisting you, or did it cause any harm? Yes, okay. Did you say yes, you had harm? Yes, okay. But you documented and have it documented. How often are you taking the medication? This is controlled substances. Are you taking them once a day? Are you sharing them, or what are you doing? Those are the kind of questions that you will have to ask. Well, this young lady has been doing well. The Food and Drug Administration came by, the FDA and the drug people came by, and you know what they did and why they arrested her? Because the pharmacy that the husband had and the pharmacy that the wife had, you know how many prescriptions, how much medication went out of that pharmacy and controlled substance? Over 1 million different total number of tablets or capsules was sold, was bought. I don't know exactly how many was sold, but over 1.5 million tablets went in and out of that pharmacy. 1.5 million. Now, that's what I'm telling you. There are two different sites, right? The husband has one, the wife has one. So they took the two and put them together. And can you imagine a little small independent pharmacy having 1.5 million controlled substance tablets and capsules going out of there? 1.5. Can y'all looking at me and listen to what I'm telling you?
Yes, sir.
1.5 million tablets. Now, the one that the husband had was the biggest number. The one that the wife had, because we had our TSU person, was a smaller number. But because she was the pharmacist in charge of the wife, they took everybody to jail. The husband, the wife, some of the physicians, they took everybody to jail, but they let the physicians go. Because the physicians said that they didn't write, so they just came in, got whatever they did, and went. The husband and the wife and had to go to jail. So now she's facing a long prison time because she was the pharmacist in charge, even though her pharmacy didn't show that they actually did that much work. But it was what? Knew or should have known. Where did the medication go? 1.5 million if you only did this amount. So here we are now with another TSU person up in the red, and here we are trying to get you to understand that this is not a joke. This is not to be played with, and all of that garbage y'all learning at them stores, you need to throw that out. Now, I don't ever want you to ever say to me again anything about what we do at our pharmacy. I don't want to hear it. I want you to only talk to me about what is right. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
We are not in the business, at least I'm not, in the business of trying to just get you through here. I want you to get through here, be safe, and don't have to talk about going to the penitentiary. Our TSU student, the husband had went out and bought one of those real fine little sports cars. But our person had never seen that car. But that was part of the reason that the feds came in, because of the way that he was spending money and because of the way that he was actually driving all this wonderful vehicle. And what I guess really set him off, the husband and wife had gone and bought a fabulous new house. Now, I'm not saying that you don't get what you want, because it doesn't bother me. But we have to be aware of our surroundings. So with that, I thought today we'd come in and I'll try to give you just a little brief preview, just to see how much you know. And again, I don't know if y'all went on Blackboard, but hopefully there are some items that go along with your textbook. You know, we were looking at up here, we were doing the little thing up here on this board. Well, I'm trying to give you those items so you can look at that. But that's not going to substitute for reading. I promise you it's not. So, yes.
No, so what did the husband and the wife do wrong again?
Well, I haven't figured that out. I'm gonna see the attorney for our lady. I'm supposed to get her. I was supposed to go Friday and didn't go, but I'm gonna find out more about it. But it seems to me that all this is based on volume. Can you imagine 1.5 million tablets of controlled substance?
They gave a time span?
Huh?
Did they give a time span of how long?
It was less than a year.
Oh, yeah.
It was less than a year. Because I saw our lady, not this December, but it was the previous December, and I kept telling this owner that there's a specific rule about what the role of the owner is and what the role of the patient, of the pharmacist in charge. What is that? What is that rule? No, this is actually, we'll go over it. It's not today, the next class. We'll go over it. But there are specific rules about what the pharmacist is required and the duties are versus what the owner's requirements are. The law says that the pharmacist is responsible for everything that is done or fails to be done in the pharmacy. Everything, right? The owner is responsible for administrative rules of the pharmacy. So if you have an owner who is telling the pharmacist what they want the pharmacist to do, then you have an issue, because the pharmacist makes all of the pharmacists in charge makes those rules. So the administrative rules, and it says that the pharmacist may assist the owner in those administrative rules. Now, you'll find that there are owners that lock up the controlled substances and the schedules 2 and 3, 1, 2, 2 and 3, and like that. Lock it up, and the pharmacist doesn't have the key. Any of y'all know about that?
Wait, can you repeat that?
What's that?
Can you repeat that?
I said that there are owners that lock up the controlled substances, and the pharmacist doesn't have a key.
So who's able to access?
The owner has the access.
During working hours?
Did you just hear me say what I said? The owner has the key. The owner has the key, and so if the pharmacist wants to get a drug out of the stock, they have to go to the owner. Now let me tell you what's the danger of that. If the danger of that is this, that if there are orders being made to purchase drugs, I don't care if they control or whatever, and if you, as the pharmacist in charge, are not responsible to see order those drugs, you put yourself in a bad position, because that patient, that owner can order anything they want, and who's responsible? You, because you knew or should have known what was being purchased. And that's exactly what they have for Our Lady. She knew or should have known that this 1.5 million number of controlled substances was being I don't know if they were actually dispensed of all or what, because I didn't get a chance to talk, but it was 1.5 million that caused her to be arrested.
Well, you said that all the doctors that were brought in question, they didn't write.
They went to jail too.
The
And the
doctor
thing
told
that's
them-
odd about that is, not this December, but the previous December, when the Texas State Board of Pharmacy had our little lady in this bind, I did the whole research on the doctors to see what kind of past they had, what kind of information there was about them having any illicit operations, or if they've been a part of anything that's wrongdoing. Each and every one, well, I can't say each. The physicians that I went and did the research on came back that the medical board gave each and every one of them a positive review, saying that they didn't have anything, they hadn't had anything in their background, they were okay. So in less than a year, it went from nothing to this horrible thing that's going on. So we as pharmacists, we can't just run. That's why I get out on y'all as technicians with this, thinking y'all know what you're doing, because you don't. And I'm not going to continue to do it, but I am going to make sure that you know, what you don't know, brother. All right. I have some questions here. Okay. Okay, in the back. Tell me a little history with it. Only one person, until everybody goes around, you'll answer one person in the back. And then you'll call on somebody in the front. And then the next time you go, the person in the front will call on somebody in the back. And I'll just be sending the question. Now, the person that's not answering will be responsible for telling me whether the answer that is given is correct or incorrect. Now, I don't care if you use books this time, but the next time we do this, we won't use any books. Okay? Okay, let's go ahead and see what we have here. Wait a minute, I had a whole thing over there. Y'all go with this one? All right. Got my questions here. All right. Here we go. Okay, you ready in the back? All right. Okay, you ready? You ready? Lady in front, choose somebody in the back. Choose somebody. You don't. We don't have to care about liking them. Just choose. Choose somebody you don't like. Then just choose somebody. Okay, can y'all? Okay, let's go ahead. Okay, go ahead. Ask. Who did you choose? Okay, stand up. So everybody can hear you. Which of the following duties may not be performed by a pharmacy technician in a Class A pharmacy? Select all that apply. Entering prescription data into a pharmacy computer system. Receiving a new verbal prescription for a controlled substance. Interpreting patient medication records. Initialing refill authorization requests.
B and C.
Okay, you sure?
No, not that's what they want.
Okay, you had the other person down here is supposed to be the person answering that.
That's what they want.
Cannot be done by a technician in his last day pharmacy. Yeah,
by a pharmacy technician in a Class A pharmacy. Select all that apply. And you said which two now? B and C?
What was the last one for B?
The four were entering prescription data into a pharmacy computer system, receiving a new verbal prescription for a controlled substance, interpreting patient medication records, and initialing refill authorization requests.
No.
No, that's for y'all. I'm not answering any questions. Y'all, you turn around and tell them that you got it right or wrong. Huh? B and C, is that the only one?
And D? Maybe D?
Okay, y'all figure it out. Okay, now you call on somebody down here, sir. All right, let's listen. That's the only time we need to be talking is when we're doing this. Sir? Yeah, okay. That's a good way to do that. Okay. We can't talk and do this too. Okay? Which individual is responsible for ensuring all inventories of controlled substances are taken? The pharmacy manager, the pharmacist in charge, the pharmacist on duty on the day of the inventory, and the pharmacy owner.
On duty.
On duty. Pharmacy on duty.
Is that correct?
On duty.
It's just, when she answers, only one person should be talking other than her, and that's the person that's answering this question. Otherwise, we're gonna shut this down, because I'm not doing that today. Now, I know what you're talking about. Now, is the ordering of medication an administrative duty, or is that a pharmacy duty?
Is it for us
It's a
or not?
pharmacy duty.
You know, this is whichever group this is your group, right? And you answered, so whichever one is in this group would be asking the question.
You don't know whose group you're in without saying
I just told you. You listening or you talking? Pharmacist bill orders and receives a bottle of generic glipizide from his supplier. Bill notices that the label on the bottle is cracked and some of the lettering on the label appears to have a different font from the same word. Bill calls the supplier to verify the transaction data and learns that a lot of the bottles, the lot number on the bottles is not valid. Not a valid NDC number for that brand of glipizide. What is Bill required to do? Select all that apply. Number one, order Class 1 recall of the drug. Take steps to work with the manufacturer to prevent the illegitimate product from reaching patients. Notify the DEA rather, and that's it.
I believe it's the second and third choice.
And the second choice is notify the FDA. And why would you notify the FDA?
Because it's
Why are you talking? This man is talking. Why are you talking? I tell you what, we just might have to cut class today, because this is not what I'm doing anymore.
No.
This is not. When I say, let's be quiet. No talking. This is the last time we're gonna have. I ask you, why do you think we need to contact the FDA?
Because it's a legitimate product under the DSCA.
Is it an illegitimate product?
Under that.
All this came on what though? Is it the product in the bottle or is the label on the bottle?
It's the label.
It's the label.
Yes, sir.
So it's label or labeling,
Yes, sir.
right? So what we should be looking at is what are we going to do about the label and the labeling? The FDA's requirement is for what? Go ahead. When do you notify the FDA?
When it's filthy.
You need some help?
Yes, sir.
Call on somebody in your group. Is it for a label or is it for something when a drug is having some kind of adverse effects? Are both of those the same thing?
No, they're not the same.
Okay, so when do you go to the FDA and say that the labels are bad versus when do you go and say that the drug inside the bottles are having an adverse effect and they could be poisonous or whatever the issue is?
You want to do that as soon as possible, really within that first day, so it won't get to that patient. That medication won't get to that patient. So you don't want any error.
So do we contact the FDA for one patient or do we contact the FDA when it's something that's going to affect a lot of patients? Okay, let's go back and you're gonna go back and look that up since we did that already. Okay. So now tell me somebody down here that you were gonna call on. Pharmacist bill orders a bottle. No, we just did that. Okay, let me go to the next one. Sorry. Now I would suggest that you kind of write down the things that you don't know and be prepared for at any time in the near future to say, well, we went over that in class, but I didn't know it, but now I know it. And then carry that on for next year. Okay. Which of the following are required to be on the label of an OTC product? Select all that apply. Adequate directions for safe and effective use. Name and address of the manufacturer, packager, distributor. Inactive ingredients. NDC number.
The first three.
I think that's right. You want to call on somebody to see if they know, or if you're right?
I can call on John.
John, where's John? This must comply with the request for a patient for a copy of his or her prescription record within 10 days.
I'm sorry, can you start over?
A pharmacy in Texas must comply with a request from a patient for a copy of his or her prescription records within 10 days, 15 days, 30 days, or a reasonable time.
So, Texas is
15
15 days.
days?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me tell you something. Maybe you ought to take it a little more seriously when I show you something. Each and every one of these questions I'm asking are questions that's been on the Texas State Board of Pharmacy. So I'm trying to get you to understand that this is the way these things have looked when you are in that process. I'm not a big tester. I'm gonna have to give some tests because that's what I have to do. But I'm trying to get you to understand the seriousness of this book that you have. This is the second. You know, you were talking about the next year book, and this is coming directly out of that second book for next year that you should have. So let's go ahead and you can see how much you have progressed, if you haven't progressed at all, or if you're relying on being a technician and thinking you know it all. Okay, so you called on someone? was gonna go over this one that we're doing, this next question. And I'll do two things at one time. We'll go over what we were gonna do with election. You got somebody? Okay. A pharmacist's salary, Pharmacist Sally received a preliminary notice letter from the Texas State Board of Pharmacy indicating that the board intended to initiate disciplinary action against her license for allegedly making several dispensing errors. She was given an opportunity to attend an informal conference with the board panel at which the board offered to settle the case with a reprimand of her license and payment of an administrative penalty of $1,500. Which of the following statements are true? Select all that apply. Number one, if Sally agrees to this settlement, she will sign an agreed board order. Number B, this will not be considered disciplinary action against Sally's license. C, if Sally and the board agree to this settlement, Sally cannot appeal the decision. And D, the board cannot discipline Sally's license for dispensing errors. Which ones do you think are correct?
I think it's B and C.
B and C? B is this will not be considered a disciplinary action against Sally's license, which is that. That's not one. And you said C. If Sally and the board agree to this settlement, Sally cannot appeal this decision. And you said that was true or false? It's true? That's true. That is correct. The other two we haven't gone over, but since we're here, when you are contacted by the board sends you a document called excuse me, has a disciplinary action letter. And what happens in that letter, the board describes each and every statute that you are alleged to have violated. Each and every statute you are alleged to have violated. With that, you are given the option usually to, well, depending on the seriousness of the project, you can have what is called an agreed board order, or you can have a number of different types of penalties, but all of them are going to come up under a disciplinary action. Now remember this, that once you receive that board order, you have to respond to the Texas State Board of Pharmacy. If you do not respond within the 10 to 20 days or whatever amount of time that they say, they can penalize you with anything they want, including taking your license. So that is where we are with this. The agreed board orders have a number of different choices that the board gives. One, it can penalize your license by having you not be able to practice pharmacy for a period of time. Number two, it can say that you can have an agreed board order, which means that you don't necessarily have to go in front of the board, but usually you never want to not go in front of the board before you have this, because you never know what all of the information is that they are accusing you of. You only know what they have written in their letter. So you have that. Then you can have a fine, and I'm going to tell you now, every time you go before the board, there's going to be a fine of $1,500, $5,000, whatever it is. But the number that I always see mostly is about $1,550. Then you can always, if you don't go to the board and have an agreement, and the board has an assessment and against you, you can appeal that. But the problem with appealing that is that you will appeal it to a judge that is appointed by the state of Texas. And that board, that guy works not for the Texas State Board of Pharmacy, but he or she is closer to the Texas State Board of Pharmacy than you probably would want somebody to do it. Now, the other thing I want you to understand is you have an absolute right to a hearing. And you should be prepared for when you have that hearing. One of the things that you want to have is an answer to this allegation that the board made. You don't want to wait until the day of the hearing to go in and say that this is what happened, this was happened. You should do that immediately once you get the board sanction request. Now, if you do not answer that letter from the board has an absolute right to do whatever they want. So always answer that letter. Always get you someone. You can always do it yourself. I never recommend that, but there are a number of different challenges that can be made to a lot of these orders. But the first thing you want to do is answer it and then go in. Like our little lady who went to the penitentiary, to jail just recently. We have to be able to understand that whatever we do, we want to be able to defend ourselves. Now, it doesn't make very much sense to me for you to hire a criminal lawyer who may not know pharmacy law. So you should try to find a pharmacist who's a lawyer to try to help you with that, because a criminal lawyer is going to approach the action differently than somebody actually knows what's going on. Okay? All right, let's go on to the next one. Who did you call? The following prescriptions can be filled by a Class A pharmacy in Texas. Select all that apply. A written prescription for I can't even say the word. A verbal prescription for Enbrel from Texas Advanced Practice Registered Nurse. A written prescription for Eliquis from a medical doctor licensed only in Canada. A written prescription for estradiol transdermal patch from a Neutropath license only in California. Which of those can you fill? Which of those can be filled by a pharmacist in Texas? A was a written prescription from a data wave physician, a DATA wave physician assistant license only in Florida. Right? So A, that's not going to be able to be done. Okay.
Well, everything except for not Canada or California.
Okay, well let's go on. Okay, so someone's not. Remember we talked about licensing in California and Texas. If this person is licensed only in California, they cannot write prescriptions in Texas. The only way someone can write a prescription in Texas is if they have a license in Texas, or if they're in the federal government working in Texas, or the military and working in Texas. But if they have a license in Florida, you remember I told you that Florida, New York, and Florida and California do not reciprocate. Remember that? Well, in order to reciprocate, you have a license in Florida, and if you're going to reciprocate in a state that's going to reciprocate, in other words, you can work there or they can work here, you still have to follow the rules of that state. So if a person is going to work in Texas, they have a license in Louisiana, and they want to work in Texas. Well, they're going to have that license reciprocated. In other words, the rules of the Texas State Board and the Texas law is going to say exactly what happens. And one of those things is you're going to have to take the Texas law exam. If you pass that, and if you have a certain number of hours or whatever the board is demanding of you, then you can practice and have something written in Texas and it can be filled. If you just have a medication that is written from somebody out of state, it can't be filled. Now we have some interesting places in Texas, and those are places that are on the border. Like Texarkana, Texas. I don't know if any of you know or heard of that. In Texarkana, Texas, the Texas and Louisiana borders walk right down Louisiana. It's not Arkansas. It might be Louisiana. Anyway, whatever state it is, the border runs right down the middle of the city. So if you are living in Texas and you want to practice in both, you're going to have a license either in both, or you're going to have a reciprocation from one to the other to allow you to work. In other words, you just can't work just because you have a license. So that's the important part of that. You're going to always have to have a license, that's a valid license. All right. Let's see here. Who is responsible for making a copy of DEA Form 222 when ordering Schedule II controlled substances? The supplier, the purchaser, DEA, the pharmacist in charge of the pharmacy. Who's responsible for making a copy of DEA Form 222 when ordering Schedule II controlled substances? Okay, somebody was supposed to call on somebody.
Yeah, you want to take it?
I thought he called on you. Okay, DEA Form 222. Okay, y'all look that one up. Now, most of this we've been over. So who do you call on? Sir? Call on somebody. Okay, see they talking again. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Which of the following statements regarding dextromethorphan is true? Dextromethorphan is classified as a dangerous drug in Texas and requires a prescription. Dextromethorphan may not be sold to a patient under 18 years old. Dextromethorphan is classified as a Schedule V controlled substance in Texas. Dextromethorphan prescriptions are limited to a 10-day supply. Which of those do you think are correct?
B, you can't sell it to under 18.
Okay, is that the only one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what do you do with dextromethorphan and say that you're gonna give it away or what? Tell me what you have to do with dextromethorphan if somebody brings it to you.
Someone brings you dextromethorphan?
You're the pharmacist. And somebody brings you a bottle of dextromethorphan, what do you have to do?
They need to show an ID.
Do they?
They have to show that they're over 18 if they're purchasing it.
Okay. And what else?
Usually you run it through a database, or there's a database that limits how many they can purchase every day. So it's
How much can you limit for over a month's supply? How much can you dispense? Okay, I didn't expect you to know that. But you were sure now what you were saying, that you have to have a prescription for dextromethorphan. A prescription for dextromethorphan.
no, you don't get a prescription.
Only at 18 years old. Buy a bottle of dextromethorphan every day. And is that okay?
No.
So it must be something else that goes along with that, right? Is there a limit on how much dextromethorphan I can purchase?
Yes.
And how many? Is that a day, a week, a month, a year? What?
Week, and month.
Okay, y'all need to look that up.
A month.
All right, just get somebody. Why is he looking around? You're not the one calling him. She's calling on somebody.
Big.
Who is it?
Big.
Okay. Which type of prescriptions are limited to a 10-day supply? Prescriptions for all Schedule II controlled substances? Prescriptions for Schedule II controlled substances for acute pain? Prescriptions for Schedule II opiates for acute pain? And prescriptions for opiates for acute pain?
A lot of those sound the same to me. Is all of the above, like, is this select all of the apply?
Is that, yes, all of it can be. So y'all, be sure and look that up, okay?
I'm gonna go with D.
D, prescriptions for opiates for acute pain?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'd suggest that y'all look that up again too. Unless an exemption applies, pharmacists must check the Prescription Monitoring Program, PMP, before dispensing which of the following select all that apply. All Schedule II drugs, carosprol, benzodiazepines, opiates. Now see, y'all talking, y'all talking to each other, trying to help. You're not doing that.
I'm gonna say all.
Okay. Is that correct? Okay, look it up. Look it up. You know, I gotta come up with some tests pretty soon. It's true, I think we had that one before. Works at Community Health Services Clinic and has entered into a drug therapy management protocol with Dr. Patel that allows Harry to sign prescription drug orders for Dr. Patel. To Dr. Patel's patients. Which of the following statements regarding this arrangement are true or is true? Select all that apply. The prescription signed by pharmacist Harry must be filled at the Community Health Services Clinic pharmacy. Community Health Services Clinic must be a federally qualified health center, hospital-based clinic, or academic healthcare institution for the prescription to be valid. What is all that? It coming in? The prescriptions may not be called into the pharmacy to be dispensed. The prescriptions may only be for dangerous drugs. The foundation of this is asking you, what is a drug, what happens with a drug therapy management protocol? And does that apply to pharmacists or does it apply to anybody else?
Drug therapy management, I would think between the pharmacist and the patient. But among those choices, I would think it was all of them except the last one, only the dangerous drugs.
Drug therapy management is a method that has been given. You know, pharmacists cannot cannot write prescriptions. You know that, right? Other people can write prescriptions. Drug therapy management is a method by which pharmacists may write prescriptions under the protocol of a physician. That happens more in a hospital setting than in an out-of-hospital setting. So you're going to look that up, and all of you will find out what's the answer to this. But that should be able to tell you. You know, more and more locations around the country, states around the country, are giving pharmacists the right to write prescriptions. we are far behind here in this wonderful state, behind many other states in the writing of prescriptions. I had a friend, I guess he's still alive, that lived in Chicago. And while he was in Chicago, he opened a pharmacy. And what he did was he started his pharmacy to be more like an office than he did a prescription. He was doing weights and a lot of things that y'all are learning to do now. He was doing it in the pharmacy, and he had actually received from a person in Illinois, and found that he, as a pharmacist, could actually be able to write prescriptions. So he actually had he expanded. He had a real office setting. He was actually doing prescriptions. He was doing everything by the book. And of course, he was growing and growing and growing. And the state board up there came in and shut him down. Told him they wouldn't close his pharmacy, but he could no longer do all those extras that he was doing. And believe it or not, he had just finished the University of Tennessee, when it transferred from being a regular pharmacy program to one that offered the drug, license. The degree. And but that's something that you want to look at as well. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead.
Who I'm choosing?
Yes.
Okay. Leslie.
Okay. Hi there. I can hardly see you. Can you hear me? Okay, good. Which of the following statements regarding prescriptions that were filled but never picked up from a pharmacy are true? Number one, a prescription that has been filled but is not picked up by the patient within 30 days must be voided out, and the drug must be quarantined and sent for destruction. Prescriptions for dangerous drugs that were not picked up may be returned to stock, but prescriptions for controlled substances cannot be returned to stock. They must be sent to a reverse distributor. Before returning prescription drugs that were not picked up into inventory, a pharmacist must evaluate the drugs for quality and safety. All prescriptions that have not been picked up from the pharmacy must be returned to stock in 21 days. Did you hear? Which one do you think, or all of them?
Is it until I thought that applies?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, we can always put that on it.
I feel like B is speaking to me.
B as in boy?
B as a boy.
Okay.
And then, do you mind repeating the last one?
The last one says, before all prescriptions that have not been picked up from a pharmacy must be returned to stock after 21 days. You don't think that?
I don't think it's 21 days.
Well, let me stop you there. First of all, if a prescription has been filled, you cannot return the drug to stock. Okay? You cannot return the drug to stock. Okay? Now I'll let y'all figure up the rest of them. But that is I don't care what type of drugs you have. If it's been filled, you cannot return it to stock. Now, I don't know what the rules are with these other pharmacies, but that's one you can't return it to stock. Nor can you return if a patient comes back with the drug and says, I haven't taken this, I don't want it, can you give them their money back? Why can't you give them their money back?
Once it leaves the pharmacy, it can't come back.
Okay, once it leaves the pharmacy, what?
You can't get it back.
can't bring it back?
I mean, if the integrity isn't spoiled, is something wrong? Because they can bring it back.